Olivia never planned to step into a stranger's truck that night. She didn't plan for anything unusual. She only wanted to grab groceries and head home before the Montana cold sank deeper into her bones. But life does not always ask for permission. Sometimes it creates a moment you never expect one. That changes everything before you even understand what is happening. The hook came the moment she turned her key in her old car's ignition. The engine made one dry click, then another, and then nothing at all. She tried again harder, as if force would magically bring it back to life. But the car stayed silent, as frozen as the night air closing around her. The parking lot was almost empty. Only a few cars remained, their headlights fading as they pulled away. Stores were closing. Wind rushed across the pavement, brushing ice across her boots. A quiet panic rose in her chest. Then a voice broke through the cold. "Need some help?" Olivia turned quickly, clutching her bag tighter. A man stood a few feet away beside a blue pickup truck. He had dark hair, a warm-looking gray sweater, and the kind of gentle eyes that made her pause instead of step back. He wasn't smiling in a cheesy, overconfident way. His expression was soft, almost shy, as if he wasn't sure whether he should have spoken at all. She didn't know him. She didn't trust Isley. And yet something about his presence felt steady, safe. "My car just died," Olivia said, her breath hanging in the air. "I guess it decided tonight was the night." The man nodded slowly. "I can take a look at it if you want. Or if you're cold, you can sit in my truck while I check. Heat's on." His voice was calm, respectful, with no pressure behind the words. She noticed that immediately. He wasn't pushing. He was offering still. Olivia hesitated. Getting into a stranger's truck wasn't something she would normally do. But the wind cut straight through her coat, and this parking lot didn't feel safe to stand in alone much longer. She studied him, searching for any sign of danger. Instead, she found something unexpected: exhaustion. The kind that comes from deep emotional weight. "What's your name?" she asked Ethan. He answered, "I live just a few minutes from here." His honesty eased a little of her tension. She gave him a small nod. "I'm Olivia." They exchanged a quick, simple smile, the kind of people share before life decides to shift their paths in ways they don't yet see. Ethan stepped back from her car. "Go ahead," he said softly. "Sit in the truck. I'll check the engine." Olivia opened the passenger door and climbed inside. The warmth hit her immediately, making her chest relax. A soft scent pine and something like cedar filled the space. The seat was worn but comfortable. It felt like a place where stories had been lived in. Not a spotless new vehicle that pretended life was perfect. She watched Ethan through the windshield as he lifted her car's hood. But she quickly realized he wasn't touching anything. Instead, he was just leaning against the front bumper. His head lowered like someone trying to catch his breath after holding it for too long. Why wasn't he checking the engine? Olivia leaned closer to the window. Ethan stayed there for a long moment, the cold wind blowing through his hair. Something wasn't right. Before she could step out to ask him what was happening, Ethan walked toward the truck. He opened the driver's side door and slid into his seat, closing it carefully as if the sound might crack whatever fragile emotion he was holding inside. He didn't start the engine. He didn't reach for the keys. He just sat there with his hands resting on his knees. Olivia waited, unsure whether to speak. The truck felt strangely quiet, the kind of quiet that asks you to listen. After a long moment, Ethan said in a low voice, "I'm sorry. I know I said I'd check your car. I just needed a second." Olivia turned toward him fully. His face held a sadness that didn't belong to a simple bad day. This was deeper, something life-changing. "You don't have to explain," she said softly, but he shook his head. "I want to. I don't know why, but I do." He looked out the windshield again. It's as if the right words were written somewhere in the dark sky. "My brother passed away 3 weeks ago," he said quietly. "Today was the first day I tried to do something normal. Go to the store, buy food, tell myself I could breathe again." Olivia's chest tightened. Grief had a way of changing a person's voice, and she could hear every crack of pain in his. Ethan continued, When I saw you struggling with your car, I thought helping might make me feel useful again. Like I could fix something in the world even if I couldn't fix what happened to him." Olivia swallowed softly. She didn't know this man, yet every word made her heart ache. Not in a romantic way, not yet, but in a human way. The kind of ache you feel when you see someone carrying too much alone. "I'm really sorry," she said. "Losing someone. It changes everything." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, it does." They sat in silence again, but this time it wasn't awkward. The air felt warmer, more meaningful. Hey? Like they were sharing something unspoken. Then he added in an almost whisper, "I didn't want to be alone tonight, even for 10 minutes." Olivia understood far more than she wanted to admit. Loneliness had been sitting in her own life like a shadow for months. She had moved back to Montana earlier that year after her long-term relationship ended and her job in Seattle cut half its team. She had been pretending she was fine, to pretending she was strong. That starting over was exciting instead of exhausting. Sometimes you recognize someone else's loneliness because it mirrors your own. "You're not alone right now," she said quietly. Ethan looked at her. Surprised? His eyes softened in a way that made her feel something warm move through her chest. They talked after that slowly at first, then more easily, as minutes turned into a quiet stretch of time inside the parked truck. Ethan told her about his brother, a playful, stubborn mechanic who had loved hiking more than anything. Olivia told him about leaving Seattle and trying to rebuild her life. Their words didn't overlap. They didn't interrupt each other. It felt like each sentence cleared a little space around their hearts at one point. Ethan leaned back in his seat, staring at the dashboard lights. "Do you ever feel like life changed faster than you could keep up?" he asked. "All the time," Olivia answered. Their eyes met. Something gentle passed between them, not romance, not yet, but connection. The kind that makes you feel seen. The kind that makes you breathe differently. Olivia noticed his hands trembling slightly as he exhaled. He wasn't crying. He was simply exhausted from holding everything in. "You don't have to talk if it hurts." She told him. "It doesn't hurt in a bad way," he said. "Just real." That sentence stayed with her, but the moment shifted when his phone vibrated on the console. Ethan glanced at the screen and his expression changed. Olivia didn't mean to look, but the screen lit up bright enough for her to see the name Emily. Ethan quickly silenced the phone, but it was too late. Olivia asked softly, "Someone important?" He looked down. "My wife. We're separated. 7 months now. She wants to talk tonight." Olivia didn't move. Her heart didn't drop, it simply grew heavier like the air around them. "I didn't plan on being here," Ethan said. "I didn't plan on talking to you. I just needed a moment where life didn't feel so heavy." Olivia nodded. "I get that." They sat there holding the weight of everything unsaid. It wasn't romantic tension, it was emotional closeness. The kind that happens when two strangers share pieces of themselves that they haven't said out loud in a long time. Finally, Ethan whispered, "Thank you for sitting with me." "You don't have to thank me," she said. "Really?" But Ethan shook his head. "I do. Because this is the first time in weeks I feel a little less broken." Those words made her chest tighten in the softest, warmest way. They didn't touch. They didn't cross any lines. But something meaningful had formed inside that parked truck, something gentle. Unexpected and honest, Ethan finally reached for the keys. "I should take you home. It's cold out." But Olivia shook her head. "I'll call a tow truck or ask a friend. You should go home and take care of what you need to." Ethan looked relieved and conflicted all at once. "Will I see you again?" Olivia hesitated, not out of fear, but out of respect for the complicated reality of his life. "Maybe," she said gently. "Let's see what tomorrow feels like." When she stepped out of the truck, the cold air hit her immediately. But something inside her felt warm, so warm it surprised her. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew their moment inside. That truck wasn't the end, it was the beginning. A small beginning. a quiet spark that life had placed in front of her without warning, and part of her already wondered where it might lead. Olivia's fingers lingered on the door handle of the truck, but she didn't leave right away. The night was quiet. The kind of quiet that presses close to your skin and makes every sound inside your chest louder than the wind outside. She looked at Ethan sitting behind the wheel, and for a moment, she realized she didn't want to break the fragile bubble they had created. Not yet. Something in her heart told her this wasn't just a random meeting. It was a moment she might remember for years. Ethan's gaze drifted forward, staring into the dark lot. The streetlights flickered faintly over the empty asphalt, reflecting in his eyes like tiny, cold stars. Olivia could see the tension in his shoulders, the weight of someone carrying too much. And yet there was also a vulnerability that made her chest tighten, a quiet plea that wasn't spoken but felt in the air between them. She slid back into the passenger seat, careful not to break the silence. Ethan didn't ask her to. He didn't make small talk. He just let her in, letting her share the warmth and stillness. She realized quickly that this was what they both needed, someone to witness them without judgment. Someone to sit in the same space while the world outside moved on, like it didn't matter that hearts were fragile inside. Finally, Olivia spoke. "You don't usually talk to strangers, do you?" Her voice was soft, almost hesitant, like testing the waters of something delicate. Ethan laughed quietly, a low, shaky sound. "No, I don't. But tonight? I don't know. I guess I just needed someone to be here with me. Someone who wouldn't ask too much, but also someone who could understand." She nodded, knowing exactly what he meant. "I get that. Sometimes you just need someone to see you without trying to fix everything." Her words hung in the air, and for the first time, Ethan looked directly at her. Really looked at her. There was a connection forming. Something simple and emotional, not rushed. Not romantic in the dramatic sense, but real. It was the kind of connection that makes your chest feel full and your stomach twist at the same time. It was understanding, recognition, and the beginning of trust. "I moved back here after 10 years, Olivia said quietly. Left Seattle after everything fell apart. Thought I could start fresh. But most days, it just feels like starting over alone." Ethan's eyes softened. "I know that feeling. Losing someone changes everything you thought you knew. Life suddenly feels heavier, but somehow quieter. You start noticing the little moments more, the ones that remind you that things aren't completely broken." They both laughed softly, a sound that felt like a fragile bridge connecting to lonely hearts. Ethan's hand rested near the steering wheel, fingers tapping lightly as if playing an invisible rhythm. Olivia noticed without thinking how human he seemed. How raw his pain, and yet his care for this moment made him approachable. "I didn't expect to feel anything tonight," Ethan admitted. "I didn't plan on talking to someone. I just wanted a moment to feel normal again. And then you were here and it made everything feel lighter." Olivia felt her chest tighten. The words weren't meant to be romantic, and yet they hit her in a place deeper than anything casual conversation could reach. "It's strange," she whispered, "how some strangers feel more like home than people you've known for years." Ethan nodded, turning his gaze toward her briefly. "Yeah, I know exactly what you mean." For several minutes, they sat quietly, the kind of quiet that doesn't need filling with words. Every sound, the faint hum of the distant highway, the soft rustle of wind against the truck added to the intimacy. They weren't touching, weren't holding hands, weren't leaning into each other, but the emotional closeness was undeniable. It was the type of closeness that builds trust in small pieces, one shared confession at a time. Ethan exhaled slowly. "Do you ever feel like you're waiting for something, but you don't even know what it is?" "All the time," Olivia admitted. "Like life is just passing, and you're standing still, hoping for a sign that it's all going to be okay." He smiled faintly, a mix of relief and sadness. "Exactly. That's it. Sometimes the only sign you get is the people you meet by accident, the ones who make the silence feel comfortable instead of lonely." Olivia's heart fluttered slightly. The warmth in the truck wasn't just from the heater, was from the emotional honesty between them. It was rare and fragile, and she knew that it might be gone in a moment. Then his phone buzzed. The sudden light broke the quiet, and Ethan's face shifted instantly. Olivia didn't need to see the screen to know it wasn't just a text from a friend. Her eyes caught the name illuminated briefly. Emily. He glanced down, then quickly silenced the phone, but it was clear. Olivia felt her stomach twist. She's someone important? She asked carefully, sensing the weight without wanting to pry. My wife, he admitted quietly. We've been separated for 7 months. She wants to talk tonight. Something important. Olivia nodded slowly, the tension inside her softening instead of breaking. She didn't judge him. She didn't feel betrayed. The honesty mattered more than anything else. I understand, she said gently. Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper. I didn't expect to feel anything tonight. But sitting here, talking to you, it's the first time in weeks that life hasn't felt empty. Her chest ached with empathy. She had felt the same kind of emptiness herself. I know that feeling. I've been waiting for something to feel real again, too. They shared a quiet smile, the kind that doesn't need words. It wasn't flirtation. It wasn't anything that could be called romance yet. It was connection, pure and human. It's the kind that builds quietly before anything else can happen. Ethan ran his hand through his hair, nervous and unsure. I need to figure things out tonight with her. But I don't want this to disappear. This moment, what it's been like talking to you, doesn't need to be complicated, just remembered. Olivia nodded. I agree. I don't want it to disappear either. They stayed in the truck for a while longer, sharing silence, sharing small stories, laughing softly at memories, the kind of stories that reveal who someone is without exposing every secret. Olivia felt a strange warmth inside, a feeling she hadn't felt in a long time. Comfort, trust, the sense that someone could see her without judgment and not try to fix everything instantly. Finally, Ethan glanced at the keys. I should drive you home. It's late and cold. Olivia shook her head. I can call a tow truck. You should go take care of what you need to. Ethan's relief was visible, but so was the regret. Can I see you again? He asked quietly, as if asking might change the fragile balance they had found. Olivia hesitated. Not because she didn't want to, but because reality was complicated. Life didn't pause for moments like these. Maybe, she said gently, let's see what tomorrow brings. The words were enough. Ethan exhaled, the tension leaving his shoulders, replaced with a strange sense of peace. He didn't reach for her hand, didn't lean closer. The intimacy had been emotional, not physical. And it had been powerful in a way that neither of them expected. Olivia stepped out of the truck. The cold hit her immediately, but she didn't mind. The warmth inside her chest followed her, carrying the memory of Ethan's quiet honesty, his openness, and the strange comfort she had felt in a stranger's presence as she watched him start the truck. Even without driving anywhere, she realized something. Life could surprise you in the most ordinary places: a grocery store parking lot, a frozen car, a blue pickup truck. People you've never met could show up and make you feel seen. Remind you that there's still warmth in the world, even when the night feels cold and heavy. Olivia didn't know what would happen with Ethan. She didn't know if he would reconcile with his wife or if their paths would cross again. She didn't know if this moment would be the start of something more, or just a fleeting spark. But she knew one thing for certain. Whatever had begun in that parked truck, in the silence, in the shared understanding, was not over. It had only just begun. And in that moment, standing in the cold Montana night, Olivia allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, life could surprise her in ways she hadn't dared hope for in years. It was quiet. It was simple. But it was real. And real, she realized, was more important than anything else.